the JC Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts, and the Gurkha Cigar Studio in beautiful British Columbia. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Mitchell Santaga.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and I currently have a mouthful of crumbs from the cigar that I just cut. So, excuse me. They're everywhere. I don't know why it was so bad. I am joined once again by my good friend, Mr. Mitchell Santaga of beautiful British Columbia and the Gurkha Cigar Studios. I am broadcasting live from the JC Newman Cigar Studios. We're back for another week, another show. You know, it's just lately it's been a little chaotic for us as a group at Smokin Tabacco. It's, you know, we're only a few weeks away from the trade show.
It's crunch time.
It is, and you know, every day, you know, we have like a team group chat that we all participate in, and you know, there's so many things, you know, whether it's appointments that everyone's booking for themselves, or it's you know, just other logistics, or it's getting stuff ordered that we need and figuring that out, and then making itineraries for things and scheduling dinners and scheduling events and stuff we got to go to, and trying to plan out our time on the trade show floor. And you know, there's a group of us this year, so it's our first time as a group, so there's a little bit more to it. Same show, more, you know, so to speak, but you know, just a lot, making sure everyone has what they need. They know what to do. Yeah, it's been busy, and I know you guys have been troopers, to say the least. I'll give you guys that. You guys have been pretty good, as Larry David would say.
It's been busy, but like I said, every day I think I get more and more excited. You know, it's
oh yeah.
It's, you know, the more things that get added, the more things you're like, oh my gosh, and just yeah, I know it's gonna be it's always busy. You know, any trade show is just busy, but it's going to be great seeing everyone in person and hanging out. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're talking to, on the trade show floor, to the people we're really interested in and the things that we're also very interested in, right? And so, although it's work and it's tough and it's a lot to get ready for, at the end of the day, it's all worth it.
Yeah, no, it's exciting stuff. You know, it's a great time. A lot of interviews to do. You know, a lot of people to see and meet, and you know, we have a guest with us tonight who will be at the trade show as well and can attest to this. And as an exhibitor, you know, it's, I'm sure, even more work for them going into a trade show than us. So,
yeah,
you know, I can only imagine. He's like, yeah, you guys don't know. You guys don't know what it's like. But you know, look, they have a lot more that they have to do to prepare for a show, and rightfully so. I mean, they're some of the most important people there. They're the ones who are there to showcase and do business and to show the world what they got. So, you know, and without further ado, I'm going to bring them right on and get right into this conversation. This week, we are so lucky and fortunate to have with us none other than the man himself, Mr. Dean Parsons of Epic Cigars. Welcome to the show, Dean. How are you?
I'm doing great, Matthew. Great to be here. Appreciate you having me on, and yeah, it's exciting time of year for sure. As you mentioned, you know, leading up to the show, you know, we all play a big part in that. Media certainly plays an incredible part. You know, getting the word out and sharing the information on our brand. So it's timely, and I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, absolutely. It is our pleasure. We're very excited. We've been wanting to have you on the show for a while. You know, we kind of talked about it before the show. There's always a lot of people we want to have on the show who haven't been on the show yet. And but you know how these things go. You know, things just get lost in translation and time, and then you revisit it again. And so I'm happy we finally got you on the show. We're here. We're doing this. You know, I've been wanting to sit down with you and, you know, learn a little bit more about you. You know, introduce the audience to you a little bit more for those maybe who aren't familiar with you and stuff you've done. I'm outnumbered tonight because I got two Canadians with me tonight. For those who didn't know, Dean is also Canadian, as well as Mitchell, if you haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah,
So I'm outnumbered. It's a Canadian takeover tonight, I guess. I don't know. That's the theme I'm running with. So, but no, I'm excited, and we're gonna get into your story a little bit first. But before we do, Let's talk about what we're smoking tonight. Dean, are you smoking with us tonight?
I am not smoking. I've got a cigar in my hand. One of the new projects we worked on. It's about 117, feels like, here in Austin, which I'm coming live from Austin, and there's no way I could get through this sitting outside. So I'm just inside, and I'm gonna have a drink with you guys and enjoy the conversation. But yeah, no smoking.
All right. Fair enough. But our cigars tonight are brought to you by none other than the number 2 guyscigars.com. That's right. If you head over to the number 2 guyscigars.com, you'll find an amazing selection of cigars and accessories from all over the industry. One of the most amazing selections as well. I mean, it's just, they got everything there, right? So your one-stop shop. You need cigars, you need cutters and lighters, whatnot. Head to the number 2 guyscigars.com. Mitchell, what are you smoking tonight? I think you still had a couple of Epic cigars that...
I did. I've gone with the Epic
Habano?
Habano.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Like
that was released. We released that in 2015, and actually, my good friend, and people that know the brand a little bit know the story behind that. But that blend was heavily influenced by Jose Blanco, who everyone knows has been with Carlito now for quite some time, but he's one of my mentors in the industry, and
Genius.
Both him and his wife Emma helped me in the early stages of direction with Epic, and we released that in 2015, I think, just before the trade show. But yeah, he's got his fingerprints all over that.
Is there Piloto Cubano in here?
There might be. You'll have to ask him.
It's like a Jose trademark.
Yeah, there is.
That's a Jose trademark right there.
Yeah.
I'm smoking the Epic Corojo, which I have to say, this is delicious. This is a great cigar. Really great cigar.
Thank you.
Nice loose draw too. Not too tight. It's really nice.
Good. We're the Corojo and the Maduro were the 2 original releases, and the Habano came shortly after that, and then several other blends as well. I think we sent you, Matthew, a selection, but we've got 9 different, I think 9 plus the new releases, probably 11 different cigars now in our lineup. But the Maduro, Corojo, Habano, and the Connecticut are the core line, where we do between 3 and 5 sizes. So yeah, actually 4 to 5 sizes now in all those lines. So yeah, it's been a journey.
I don't have them all in front of me, but I have this that I'm smoking, and then I have a Project E, the San Andreas Project E, which I'll hold that up. Hopefully the camera doesn't focus away from me, which is really cool.
Band. Yeah, that was released in 17, I think. Great concept, believe it or not. We were leading up to the trade show. It was this time of year, and we didn't have a band. And Cigar Rings at the time had no way of creating a band for that cigar. And at the time, Mick Grant, who Mick lives in Tennessee now. I think he's in Knoxville area. He was headed our sales in the Northeast, and he came up with the idea of putting the tobacco on the band and created a die tool to cut that E out. And it's been a super successful cigar. I have shops that's the only one they carry in Epic, but they order 10, 15 boxes a month, and their customers are all over. So it's been a great project, and a cigar that kind of turned out better than expected when we were creating it. So it got to that medium point. It's not full body, but it's got a lot of complexity, and it's got that Mexican San Andreas wrapper, Sumatra binder, and Dominican Nicaraguan filler.
Yeah, I'm very excited to try this one. I'm probably gonna smoke this next. I don't know if I'll get to it on the show, but for sure after the show, I'm gonna smoke one of these. Very excited. It sounds great. You really sell the blends too. I mean, I have to say, I'm getting excited just to go through the rest of the ones I have here. I believe I've had the Maduro before, actually, and I remember it was a little while ago, but I think I had the Maduro before. I definitely had never had the Corojo, so I grabbed that one. And then a friend of mine was actually smoking the Epic Maduro a couple weeks ago. And I remember I was like, "Oh, what are you smoking?" He was like, "Epic Maduro," and I was like, "Wait." He's like, "This cigar is fantastic," and he loved it. And I was like, "Oh, it's amazing because they're coming on the show in a few weeks." So
very cool.
that's, I was all excited because now I was like, I had Epic on the mind. So, very, very cool. I think I do have some of those, and I'll have to revisit it again too. But are also, before I forget, sorry, I'm a little all over the place today. I have like scatterbrain syndrome today. I'm just all over the place. And for some reason, I had all the screens set up for Dean's feed, and once we went live, now he's not on any of the screens. I have no idea why. These are the things you have to deal with on the fly. But we are cutting and lighting our cigars once again with none other than Cigar Blondie accessories featuring the sleek, flat fan blade lighter and the double guillotine cutter. Available in 3 finishes. This is the chrome set. Mitchell's got the white, and then there's also a black set. And you can find these at cigarblondie.com. So, let's get back to Dean. So you kind of already talked a little bit about your cigars. You talked a little bit about, the history behind them and working with Jose. You mentioned a little bit, and Emma. You talked a little bit about, some of the timelines and whatnot. But for those who don't know you and who aren't maybe familiar with the brand, how long have you been making cigars or otherwise just involved in cigars? And then, of course, the beginning of Epic and getting into that. Just kind of the original backstory of kind of what got you into the business.
Sure. Originally from the East Coast of Canada, I grew up playing hockey and riding snowmobiles, and went to university in the University of New Brunswick in Fredericton. Ended up, if it's Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and then ended up in law enforcement there for 10 years. And in 2003, I took a vacation to Turks and Caicos Islands. Fell in love with the place, was visiting a good friend, and the developer he was working for offered me a job. He knew I was in law enforcement, and saw some great things in me and offered me an opportunity to come to live and work in Turks and Caicos. So I relocated there in 2005 and worked with a real estate development project in operations and then sales and marketing, and actually got it. I smoked a few cigars back in the day in law enforcement and when I was riding my Harleys with friends back in Canada. But when I got to Turks and Caicos, you really couldn't find a lot of premium cigars there. They had a few jewelry stores and liquor stores that had cigars, but there was a slim selection, and we were entertaining a lot of real estate clients coming in to invest and taking them fishing, golfing, and there was something missing. So I started flying to the Dominican in 2005, bringing back Davidoff's, Fuentes, Lauroras, just to have in our office as closing gifts or for entertaining. And after a few trips, and a couple of years, I decided to make a cigar. So before Epic, there was a brand called the Turk Select, which was made for the Turks and Caicos Islands, branded it. It was called the Turk Select 1841. Launched that cigar in 2009 and had it in a lot of the hotels and resorts in the island and as closing gifts for customers. Fast forward late 2008, early 09, the world market crash. We had already opened our property there, and we're starting a second development, and obviously that stopped with the market crash and the economy. And I got hired by a group to go to the Dominican Republic, which I moved there in January 09, and was still sending cigars from the Dominican to Turks and Caicos, but really didn't have time to travel back and forth. So I said, really, I'm enjoying this part of the business. Really, it was part-time. I was still full-time in real estate, but I could see some opportunity and something that I enjoyed on the side. So I started searching for brands, names. Epic was available, secured the name, started to secure the trademark, and I launched Epic in 2010 with the Maduro Corojo, and then it's kind of grown from there. I left the real estate development in 2014 and continued to grow, and in 2019, Epic got acquired by zander-greg out of California, and they also have the Natseco brands. And I mean, that was a transition that happened over probably 7 or 8 years, because Arthur Barbarian, who's the owner of zander-greg and Natseco, we had met, over the years in the Dominican and spent time, and he had kind of followed my success and progress and saw that there was an opportunity to continue to grow the business with me. So, and yeah, here we are, 3+ years later, and we're making more cigars than we've ever made. We're reaching out to more retailers. We're in a lot more countries, and business is booming. So I'm very thankful and very excited to continue to grow, and that's given us the opportunity and the resources to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly are another success story of time and hard work put together, building a brand, and it's paid off. I mean, here you are, like you said. Great story, and it sounds like I have to say you've really lived a life. I mean, grew up in Canada, playing hockey, riding snowmobiles, riding Harleys. You moved to Turks and Caicos. You get to live in Turks and Caicos, and you live in the Dominican. You start making cigars. I mean, man, you really done a lot of different things, and it sounds like you've had a great fucking time. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't always like, I'm sure there was tough times, but I mean, you sound like you've had a lot of fun. So
were you were you RCMP or were you private?
No, I was municipal, Fredericton City Police. But actually, my last 3 years, I worked in drug enforcement, and we did a lot of joint force projects with the RCMP. So I was closely aligned, and saw a lot over a 10-year period, and unfortunately lost some friends over the last few years that I had the opportunity to serve with. But took a lot of great skills, a lot of great life skills, a lot of great communication skills out of that my career and time spent, and still really stay connected to a lot of law enforcement, charities over the years. I've made cigars for the New York Smoking Shields group, for the Maryland Smoking Shields, and I'm a member of the Maryland, New York, and the Tampa Smoking Shields. So stay connected to that. Awesome. And appreciate, the men and women that serve, and not just the police, but, military. And it's something that, Cigars has a direct connection with. So we give back where we can, and we try and collaborate and do different things.
Yeah, and you guys have a cigar, if I remember correctly. You have a cigar that's named after the police. Yeah,
that's we launched last year at the PCA, which is the Epic 299, which was my regimental number when I served in Canada. Okay. And actually, it's done well. So yeah, that's the significance of the 299.
Yeah, sorry, I had a question right there and I just lost it. Damn it. But yeah, I mean, being in law enforcement, I got it back now. Here we go. Being in law enforcement is also just an adventure in itself. I've never been in law enforcement, but from what I understand, it's like it's one of those jobs that I think a lot of people kind of underestimate, just how not only dangerous but involved and just kind of all over the place it can be. I mean, it's not all just traffic stops and, house parties that you have to go by. I mean, there's some shit that happens. So it's, it's props to you for, for being one of those people, to answer the call and face the noise and, essentially put your life on the line.
It's
for others.
Thank you. No, thank you, Matthew. I mean, it's funny because I don't come from a family of law enforcement. It was something through, I started working as an auxiliary officer during my college and university time. And a lot of the guys were hockey players that were connected to the police force at that time. And so that's what we had in common, and ended up working, summer park patrol over the years. And when I finished, they wanted to send me to the police academy. So it just kind of fell into it. And then, next thing you know, I'm in the Caribbean, and for 4 years, Turks and Caicos, and then 9 years almost in the Dominican Republic. So, and that was probably, when we talk about the cigar industry, there's no better education than I was able to receive over those years to, when you're living in the Dominican, you get a different experience. You get opportunity to spend time with people that otherwise you wouldn't. And that's really done a lot for the brand. I mean, all the cigars that are in my lineup are a collective success of all the people I've met over the years and gotten advice from. And, none of us pretend to be, master blenders and things, but I've been around, some of the top minds in the industry over the years, and gotten some great advice just because I was in the right place at the right time. So, yeah, I'm pretty fortunate.
Now, I know you mentioned that you worked with Jose Blanco. Who are some other people that you've gotten to work with tobacco and really, kind of enhance, the knowledge that you have for making cigars today?
Of course, besides Jose, I spent a lot of time, back in, this is probably 14, 15, I was spending a lot of time in La Romana and had a chance to spend not just time with Jose, but Ruben Gonzalez, a good friend of mine. Ruben has Cigar Country. He's a great tobacco mind, but also, Jose Sejas, who, I would go over, when they were developing the Matilda brand, I was going there on weekends and smoking samples with Enrique and Ricardo, and it was just incredible to get to spend time with them. And I would bring stuff that I was working on, and they would smoke it and give me advice, be like, hey, do this, do that, change this, and of course Rolando Villamil, who we lost during COVID, just a year ago, who runs the factory where Epic's produced, and where Christoph cigars are produced at the same factory. John Starks, who played for the Knicks, produced some cigars at that factory as well. Rolando, who is one of the top tobacco minds in the Dominican Republic for many years, was my biggest mentor, and I was in the factory on a weekly basis, working and learning and listening and smoking and tasting and understanding the business, and not just tobacco, but the fermentation side, the aging. There's so many aspects which we all know of, but it's when you're getting it firsthand, and you just open your ears and listen and watch. There's I can't put a value on those 9 years spent in the Dominican.
Yeah, a lot of time going into understanding. I don't, I know a lot of things that I hear and learn from people in the industry, but even I know, I've talked to people who blend cigars every day. Jose Blanco will tell you he's still learning. It's one of those things where it's almost like a doctor, right? You're always learning something new. There's always advancements. There's always changes, but there's always more to learn. Other people can, share their experiences and techniques, and but yeah, just to be involved in the business at the capacity you're at, yeah, years of just trial and error, learning, practicing, meeting people and picking up on stuff. It really is. It's like its own degree program, everyone kind of says the same thing, that they spend years just kind of in the background learning everything before they even get to that point where they're like, all right, like I'm gonna kind of go for it now, because there's you said exactly that. There's all the core components that we all know of, but within them, all the little parts of it that are the day in, the day out, that don't always get talked about. Yeah, there's a lot there to learn and remember. And blending cigars, I've never blended a cigar, but I know that it's not just like you grab some tobacco and be like, that's good. It takes time, a lot of time.
Exactly. 3 months, 6 months. Sometimes you get it. It's rare, but you get it the first time you create something. You put a blend together, it tastes good, and then you leave it for a few months, and it tastes better. But sometimes you've got to go back to the drawing board and start again multiple times, and then you go back to that cigar a year later, and you're like, wow, actually this does taste good. It didn't taste good 2 months ago or 6 months ago, and a year later it's good. So there's so much to it, and I've been blessed and fortunate to never have had to rush any of the cigars in our portfolio, and at the end of the day, you want to make something. The goal is to make something you hope everybody enjoys, but first and foremost, we're focused on making something good that I feel is good, and our mentors like, and we have positive feedback. But you're never going to make something that everybody likes. But we've got a pretty good range of cigars in our lineup that I like to think we've got something for everybody for sure. And with Epic and now with with Nat Seco, our Nat Seco lines as well, which come out of Nicaragua. We've got such an amazing selection of products and cigars in our lineup that it'd be hard pressed to find a retailer that couldn't find something that might work for their customers. So.
And this year at the trade show, you're bringing not only a new cigar, we're bringing a person with you, which is very exciting. And we've talked about it on the show a couple times already, but if you haven't heard, the great actor who I personally love and my wife loves, and I'm pretty sure that Mitchell loves, Chazz Palminteri, who if you don't know who that is, you must be under the age of 30. And if you're over the age of 30 and you don't know, then you live under a rock. Bronx Tale. Well, he was in a lot of films. Bronx Tale. I think that's the one that people really know him for. Great actor. And now he's coming out with the Bronx Tale Cigars. And I know we talked a little bit about it before the show, but just tell us how that really came to be, because that's truly an exciting thing.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm a big fan. I've watched that movie, I'm sure, 20, 30 times over the years, and it's such an iconic, story, and to be doing what we're doing, we're super excited. And it's funny, the connection to Chazz was actually originally through a law enforcement friend of mine out of New York who knows Paulie De Silva very well. Paulie owns Arthur Avenue, La Casa Grande Cigars. Paulie's father grew up with Chazz, and they're best friends. And so years ago, Paulie was making a Bronx Tale cigar, in the Bronx. He's got his Dominican rollers there. And he's had a super successful business over the years. And Chazz basically blessed him with the gift to make this cigar, which he made, here and there for a few years, but he really saw the opportunity. The cigar business is booming. They wanted to find someone to take that cigar on another level and create something that we can market, not just locally, but internationally. And yeah, so through a friend, JJ, he connected me with Paulie a little over 2 years ago. And we started discussions, and then we wanted to put in place all the things you have to put in place to not just take the brand to another level, but to create a special blend, to make sure all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed from a standpoint of intellectual property. Chazz owns the name of Bronx Tale. So we went through that whole process, and then we started working on blends. And, what we've created is something very special. The packaging is incredible. The story, Chazz is not a big cigar guy, but this is a dedication for to his grandfather. And you'll read the story and see it in the box. Some of it's been released through some of the social media and through some of the publications, but he's very passionate about this project. We've met several times to talk about his vision for this cigar. Myself and Arthur, the owner of zander-greg and that Seco Brands, we've had dinner with Chazz. And he's just the cooler thing than even making the cigar is sitting and having dinner with this guy and listening to his stories and his life, because he's literally, you're almost in the movie when you sit with this guy and have dinner. He's such a, I don't know how to explain it, but he's such a cool guy, and he's incredibly knowledgeable. His character in these movies is almost like his character in real life, and for the customers and our retailers to get a chance to meet him, you'll really be impressed. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and he's a very charismatic, caring, warm, and smart guy. And he's really, he doesn't want to just make a cigar. He's getting involved in this from all levels of his, from his social media standpoint to his contacts. He's known, internationally. So we're really excited.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, I'll kind of get right to it. A lot of times we've seen over the years celebrity projects that have come to the market. And unfortunately, I feel like I don't want to say every time, because it hasn't happened every time, but there's a lot of times where, these things get made. It's kind of just like, oh, I'm getting a cigar made, whatever. Just kind of like one of those things I'm doing. They kind of move on from it. And then, sorry, I'm trying to hold back the yawn. But a couple of projects have come along over the years, and people actually, the celebrity people who are involved in those projects have actually been involved, as we've seen with Guy Fieri in Espinosa Cigars, who's probably been one of the biggest celebrity cigar releases I think we've seen in a long time, and to be very successful. Artista has the Big Poppy project they do with David Ortiz, which has gone on to expand into multiple sizes and limited edition formats and stuff like that. I know he's done some promoting with that as well, which has been great. And now you see Chazz. Chazz is coming to the trade show. He's going to be there for people to meet the first couple of days. It sounds like he's really put some time into this project, and really, like you said, he's got a passion for this. And while he's not a big cigar guy, he's invested into the project, which is really important, and it's really nice to hear. So I'm very excited to see how this project goes, and I wish it obviously nothing but the best. But so far, it sounds like this is another really good celebrity collaboration project that is destined for success. On the surface, we have to try the cigars first too, obviously, because that's obviously a big part of it. But it sounds like you guys are doing all the right things, and really preparing to roll out this project in a good way. So that's awesome for you guys. Congrats.
Well, it's to be honest, it's if you asked me in 2015 if this opportunity came up, I wouldn't have even considered something like this. But now with the resources we have, with Epic Natsico, with zander-greg, our distribution company, and it's a perfect fit, and we have the resources to take this and scale the brand nationally and internationally, and it's a good feeling, because you'd hate to come into this situation and not have all the resources you need. So the timing, everything happens when it's supposed to, but more than anything, it's to have a guy like Chazz, to have him on our team, and to have him enthusiastic about it. And I even Paulie De Silva from La Casa Grande, he's just been nonstop. We're doing a launch event next Wednesday and down in the Bronx, which is the first release of the cigar, and he's been nonstop in his promoting and marketing, and the event's pretty much sold out as of today. There might be a couple tickets left, but we're really excited, and everybody's on board and doing their part. So it's going to be a success, and we're gonna push forward.
Where's the cigar being made? At what factory?
It's at the factory's called Tabacalera Von Eycken. Used to be called, what was it? Gosh, the old name on our factory. But it's the same factory where we produce Epic. Christoph produces all their
Charles, I think it was called Charles Fairmont.
Used to be Charles, correct? Yeah, it used to be Charles Fairmont. Yeah, it's called same factory, but now it's called Tabacalera Von Eycken. Yeah.
Is are all of your cigars coming out of Tabacalera Von Eycken, or the majority of them?
Yeah, all the Epics except for we did a release, an Epic 10, which was produced by AJ. That was a couple of years ago. That was just 1,000 boxes, which came out of AJ's factory. And then of course the Natsico brands are all come out of Nicaragua, except for the Natsico 55, which was an anniversary cigar we released last year. That comes out of the Von Eycken factory as well.
Okay.
And another release, we just released a couple months ago, is the Epic, the Big Stick, which is this one right here. Oops, sorry. The other one.
There we go.
Yeah, so this is for a company called Big Golf. Chris DeHart is a good friend of ours out of Tampa. They're a golf ball company that's taken the world by storm. And he's a big cigar aficionado, so we created this. Will be featured at the show as well. Fantastic cigar.
What's the blend on that one?
Habano wrapper, Cameroon binder, Dominican Nicaraguan filler, medium to full. Fantastic stick. It's a great golf stick, and something Chris worked on with us over the last almost year and a half. He owns another company called Dugout Mugs. They do the baseball bat beer mug company, and they've had huge success in that as well. So he's now taken on the golf industry by storm. we actually launched that cigar at Johnny Damon's golf event a few months ago. We had a limited release that we did up in Reunion, Florida. So that was a lot of fun.
You know,
Nice.
speaking of, I know you mentioned before, you've done a lot of events. I know you've done some charity stuff, and you've got really, you're getting involved. We've talked about some things, before the show started. You know, really finding ways to give back and to be involved. Does that really come from, maybe your time in law enforcement and, being involved in communities and seeing communities and, kind of getting more of that, inspiration to give back? Is that something that you've kind of always kind of had within you to go out of your way to help others and stuff, just kind of as you grew up?
Well, I mean, I think it's always been in me, but as we, we grow our brands, from the zander-greg standpoint and, Epic and Nat Seco, it's something we collectively believe in. And we do a lot of things on an annual basis that nobody ever hears about. And that's okay. And we're fortunate to do some of the bigger events. We do Jonathan Ogden's golf event every year. It was just a couple of weeks ago. We've been blessed to work with the George Lopez Foundation, worked with Cal Ripken Foundation in the past, and all these foundations are giving back in ways that we could never even make a dent. And so when we come in from a cigar standpoint and we're able to get involved and give and bring that positive light to the cigar industry, which no one other than Carlito is one of the best at that. And
Oh, for
what
sure.
he does, and you're obviously very familiar. So, I think it's important to give back in general, but also to bring that giving back attitude to our industry, and because there are some people they're not, even if you don't smoke cigars, it's good to know that the people that do and these companies are giving back and creating opportunities for others, through goodwill and through the resources that we have.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that I know those of us who involved with stuff like that, within the industry, always preach. And it's not like, oh, hey, look at me doing something nice for somebody. I think a lot of times it's the people who frown on the industry as a whole, whether it's just cigars, it's tobacco, however they, associate it, as being, the anti-smoking people. And it's like, well, we're a smaller community. We're not all tobacco products, and the people in our community, most of them give back and do things. And that's the kind of community an industry, I should say, that I think a lot of us who get to be involved in some way, shape, or form are really proud of, because, like you said, that's just kind of how most of us are. And, cigar people are not bad. That's my biggest message from it is like, hey, look what we did to help other people, We're not bad people, cigar people are on the most part. You run into a bad egg here and there. You do that anywhere, but that's the great thing about this industry is, most people are great, and it's small, a lot of good people, a lot of good times, as you know, and that's what makes it so unique and special. So thank you for everything you do for so many different things, and it's great to have you on the show and talk about that, because I get it, and I appreciate what you do just because I know how important it is. So
listen, I see it, and I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, that's really it.
what you guys do, it's the same. So the more collectively we can all do together, to keep this industry in the best light possible, it's valuable for everybody. So it's an exciting time now more than ever with how the industry's growing and how the imports are up and new brands and new opportunities. So it's a good time to be in this industry for sure.
Now, I know that we talked a lot about Bronx Tale and that project that you're working on with Chazz, but outside of that, what kind of, is there anything else that you're working on for the future? I know the trade show, obviously you guys go to the trade show, I've been trying to ask this question to some manufacturers lately. With a lot of people, I feel maybe not everybody, but a lot of people work on projects. There's timing. They want stuff to be released for the trade shows. With the trade show this year being July, and then for 24 being moved all the way up to March, it's a fast turnaround time for another trade show. Obviously, this year's trade show, you guys have exciting things coming out, but looking to next year, how does that kind of affect your timetable? Were there projects that you were working on, for next year that, maybe now might not make it to the next trade show because now it's going to be too soon?
Exactly.
Did you have time to kind of get stuff going for next year's show, or is it kind of just like this is going to be like a kind of like a wash year because our schedule now has been moved and we have to wait till the next one?
Yeah, there are some things we're working on, and really only time will tell if the blends come together, if these opportunities, partnerships come together as well. So it's kind of touch and go, and we do have some line extensions coming, or not line extensions, but new sizes coming in several of the Epic lines, and we've been upgrading our packaging, which is, you'll see some of that at the show, and that's going to be implemented over the next 3 to 4 months. And that's Seago. We've got some things as well that we're working on. So we'll definitely be in the Dominican and Nicaragua before the end of the year, working on some things. So yeah, we kind of, it's as nice as it is to do releases at the trade shows. We're going to do them when it's right. I guess right for us and right for the customer. So yeah, it is difficult to plan everything, and we're fortunate that the Bronx Tale came together the way it did. But I mean, this has been over 2 years working on the project, so we're glad that it's worked out the way it has. So you can't rush these things, but it's nice to be able to take advantage of the trade show. But unfortunately, we don't get to do that as much as we'd like to.
A blend that we really haven't touched on too much tonight, one that I was surprisingly really enjoyed was the La Rubia, your Connecticut shade wrapped. I think it's your only Connecticut shade wrapped cigar in the portfolio. A lot of the times whenever I approach a new cigar, it was actually the first Epic cigar I've ever smoked. I tend not to look at the blend, and there's only probably like 5 Connecticut shades ever that I would go back to smoking. And when I lit it up, I was like, whoa, I would smoke this again. Like I was blown away by it. Honestly, I was so surprised. I feel like every person in media and every person in the industry, they're always like, oh, I don't smoke Connecticut shades, like blah, blah, blah. But like this, it was awesome. Like it was flavorful. It didn't. So I don't like when people say, oh, it doesn't smoke like a Connecticut shade, because it's like, well, why don't you just smoke something else then? This smoked like a Connecticut shade, but it had much more layers and a lot of complexity. And when I looked at the blend, having that San Andreas binder in it, and then Dominican Nicaraguan fillers, it made total sense, right? It had that underlying chocolatey sweetness, but balanced with that kind of, I guess, woodiness that a Connecticut shade gives you. But the best thing about it was that it almost had no bitterness, like at all. And I find that always throws me off with any Connecticut shades.
100%.
Did you specifically try to blend out that kind of Connecticut shade bitterness, or was that just something that happened?
I mean, we needed a Connecticut in the lineup. I think as a brand, you need a Connecticut offering for your customers. And really, the San Andreas happened almost by accident. And because we had 3 or 4 blends in that same cigar with different combinations of tobaccos for 6-8 months. And it wasn't until we tried the San Andreas and it literally immediately, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then we kind of worked on how much San Andreas we're going to put in there. But as a binder, it's just awesome. It's changed that cigar. And I've taken so many people. It's a cigar I smoke in the morning with a coffee, or if I haven't smoked all day, I'll have it at night with a single malt. It's a fantastic blend. Really proud of that and how it came together. And, Orlando worked with that on me, worked with that worked with me on that cigar. But yeah, I said, well, and I'm a big fan of San Andreas tobacco. We use it in
Yep.
Project E, and I still smoke a lot of other cigars, from other brands to get inspiration and ideas. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't we try? Do we have any San Andreas? Why don't we try it in this blend? And we did, and it's just been, it's been a home run. And it's funny, I remember giving the first samples. I was on the flight from the Dominican I was coming to the show. It was probably 16 or something. And Charlie from Halfwheel was on the plane. And I gave him like the first samples out of the ones, besides the ones that I had smoked from the factory. And they gave us a pre-release rating, I think like a 91. But it's just a cigar that's, we've had a lot of success with that cigar. And we actually got some line extensions. We've got a Churchill size in that cigar now. We have the short Gordo, Robusto, and a Gordo. Robusto, Gordo, short Gordo, and now we've added a Churchill in a tube, which they're really selling well. So.
Yeah, awesome line. I've really enjoyed it. And guys, if you haven't tried it, and again, if you're kind of like not sure about Connecticut's, like awesome. One of the best Connecticut's I've ever had for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think isn't Kevin not a big Connecticut guy? I'm pretty sure Kevin's not a big Connecticut guy. I feel like we had this.
Everything.
Didn't we have this conversation? He used to like he hate Connecticut shades, and then I think he's kind of come around a little bit. I can't remember. One of you guys was saying that. Maybe it was just you.
That was me.
Yeah, maybe it was
me.
you. But I remember we had that discussion, and so to hear you find a Connecticut shade that you really like, I mean that says something, because I know you're not generally a fan of those. Let's actually. Oh no, here he is. Here's Kevin. No, he loves Connie's. He says, yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, he does. He loves them. So yeah, it was you. Let's hit our news segment really quick. We have news as always, and our news this week is, as always, brought to you by Micallef Cigars. If I can find it, there it is. Our news is brought to you by Micallef Cigars, featuring the new Micallef Black, rated 91 on SmokinTabacco.com by none other than our very own Kevin Acuff. The Micallef Black is a phenomenal cigar featuring Mexican San Andreas wrapper. To me, I think this is the cigar that's really going to get Micallef out there more than they already are. If you haven't tried it, go to 2guyscigars.com. That's right, that's the number 2guyscigars.com, and order them today if there's any left in stock. I know they were selling pretty quick. So the Micallef Black, it's a blackout.
What's on the news for tonight?
Well, it's a busy time. There's a lot of stuff coming out. There's a lot of releases. And as always, you can head over to SmokinTabacco.com to read about everything. I'm not going to go through everything, obviously, tonight, but I think I'm actually going to hit on two things, which I usually do one, but I'm going to hit on two. First of which being, this is our pre-PCA season. It is PCA season a couple weeks away. And then the show will come. We'll give you our coverage. We'll give you our post-show coverage, and then we'll be done with it. So for the people who are sick of hearing about PCA, you got another 3.5, 4 weeks left. So just hang on in there. But as always, our coverage is brought to you by Drew Estate, the rebirth of cigars, once again for 2023. And Drew Estate announced yesterday or 2 days ago. It was this week. Might have been 2 days ago. They have officially come out and said what we already kind of knew. It's not hard to figure out, but they confirmed it, that they will be at PCA in 2024. So, I'm pretty sure that General and Altadis will also be, who are going to be at the show this year, are still going to be back, for the long haul next year. So that means we officially have 3 of the big 4 back at the trade show, which is exciting. Can't wait for that. The only one left is Davidoff, who I still predict doesn't return, at least for a while. I think we're going to see these 3 for at least the next couple of years. And then, I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, who knows what happens.
Yeah, just kind of from the things we see and we hear, we talk about on the air, off the air. It just seems like it's pretty much just going to be the 3 of the 4 for a while. But they did come out and they said that. I know one of the contributing factors was moving the show early in the year. It was a better timetable for them, and I know that there's been some other things that have been discussed between them and the PCA, and it seems to me like they've been able to kind of get that back on track. And while Drew Estate will still continue to support the TPE show, they have come back to PCA, which is exciting for the industry to have them there. Another one of the interest. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think a cool point being, I think so far 3 out of the 3 companies saying that the change of date was a key figure in coming back for all 3 companies. So I find that very interesting for those who are saying it's not a good thing for the industry that they changed the dates. I think it was a good thing. Obviously, we have 3 of the 4 biggest companies back, and again, even if you don't necessarily like sometimes how loud Drew Estate is, they bring an energy to the show that I don't think anyone can mimic. So
have you been to a trade show where Drew Estate has been there? Because you haven't been to
I
TV,
have not,
right?
but I've heard interviews where people have been beside their booths, and and obviously I've seen interviews with them in the past, and yeah, it's like a party in there. So
The Drew Estate booth is awesome. It is. Now, if you're an exhibitor who exhibits within, like, I don't know, 300 feet of that booth, yeah, maybe you don't love it, but it's a fun booth to go to. You know, for us, the only part that does kind of suck is that sometimes it can be a little loud when you're doing an interview. But
copyright
other than that, I don't really care. It's cool. You know, you see JD there and Pedro and everyone doing their thing. So yeah, it is exciting. You'll have the noise. The PCA trade show. I think this should have been the headline. The PCA trade show just got a little bit louder again. I should have ran with that. It was a missed opportunity, and I definitely dropped the ball on that one. That would have been a great headline, but I didn't think of it till now. The other thing is that I thought was interesting. We'll talk about a release now, kind of break it up a little bit. But United Cigars has announced a new core line firecracker cigar, the Black Bomb Firecracker. This summer, United Cigars proudly introduces the Black Bomb Firecracker with an enhanced blend in new 25-count box format. The United Firecracker was first cigar on the market with a long piece of tobacco with the head shaped like a wick or a fuse to capture its name, Firecracker. Now, the Black Bomb Firecracker adds even more gunpowder to the blueprint, using a rich Mexican San Andreas wrapper over Sumatra binder and filler tobaccos from the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua. The Black Bomb combines explosive flavors with unrivaled intensity. Now, Mitchell, on the last Spare Notes show, we talked a lot about United 2 weeks ago with Matt and Garrett on our PCA pre-show part 1. We talked about, who do we want to see, who's got some momentum, and once again, 2 years in a row, United. We keep hearing about United. They have all these things that they're bringing to the trade show, and Selected has announced a couple of things. There's been some other United. There's some extensions to Red Anchor, and I remember on the last Spare Note show 2 weeks ago, you, I, and Cooper together, and we said, I think that's about it for Selected. If anything, we're gonna get one more United announcement before the trade show for the actual United branded products that they offer. And here it is. Just as we predicted, another United-based, product announcement before the trade show. So they are coming into the trade show for another year loaded from every angle of that portfolio across multiple brands, top to bottom, left to right, back to forth. I mean, they're ready to have another solid show. And they were one of the companies that really stole the show last year because they had so much going on. A lot of new exciting products. I mean, the Alfonso was released, and that went on to win Cigar of the Year with us and Charlie Minato at Half Wheel. It performed very well. So, yeah, big year, successful year for them. And it looks like they're going to have another one. I mean, they're bringing another Alfonso. They're bringing 10-year aged Atabes. They got Atabe humidors. They got, this. They got there's a lot of stuff they got going on. So, we'll see. I mean, United is, I don't know, it's turning into the booth to be at every year. So it'll be exciting to see how it all shakes out in a couple of weeks when we get to Vegas. But that was our cigar industry news brought to you by Micallef Cigars featuring the new Micallef Black. All right. let's bring Dean back on here. You know what's funny? I had the Stream Deck. You guys know about the Stream Deck? The thing that has all the programmable buttons, especially if you're doing like streaming shows like this, or if you're like a game streamer and you have like all your things programmed, so you can. And I wasn't really using it because I was like, I can just kind of use the laptop, and I don't know. I feel like I didn't need it, so I stopped using it, and I moved it to my regular computer to use. And now like here I am, and I feel like my transitions tonight haven't been as smooth, and I think that's like I don't want to say karma, because I mean it wasn't really a bad thing, but it's like, of course, once I get rid of it, now I feel like lost without it.
So what you're saying is you need to get Stream Deck back.
I think I need to get another one because I love it on my desktop computer. Just because it's fantastic. It has all my shortcuts for the website on there. I can just go boom, 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 and everything opens up. I do love it there, but I feel like now I feel like I need it back for here now because I just feel lost without it. It's just weird because I wasn't really using it, and now all of a sudden I just feel like things aren't as nice as they used to be. And I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Why do I do this? Mitchell, you have to learn some production too. I'd love to see you do this.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have a field day with it. It's not easy.
No.
And I've gotten good at it, since Nicole's been on her maternity leave, so to speak, with the baby coming. She used to do it all for me, and it was nice because I didn't have to even think about it. I could just worry about enjoying the show and doing what I needed to do, and now I have to think about this and all of that other stuff. So I've gotten pretty good at it, but I'm still not as good as Nicole. I don't know what it is. I can't master it, which is weird. That's just how it goes.
Behind every man is a good woman. So,
that's right, Dean. That's right. That's right.
Knock it.
I'd be lost without her. Let me tell you, man.
Before you know it, she'll be back, and you'll be taking care of the baby, and then she'll be running the show.
I know. That'll be the thing. Like, she'll come back, and like I won't even be on the show anymore. It'll just be her and Mitchell, and I'll be with the baby, and it'll be like, what happened to Matt? You're like, I don't know. We made the jokes like, for the trade shows next year, like, just trying to figure out who's doing. I was like, I think she's gonna come back for PCA next year. I mean, by then, we'll have the baby and whatever. But then, there's TPE, and I said, I go, maybe I'll go to TPE just by myself, or because Kevin's there. It's not as big of a show. Like, I'll go, and me and Kevin will bang it out, And she's like, who says you're gonna go? Who says like you don't stay home and I go to the trade show without you? And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm like,
hey,
okay.
She's got the last name now. She's got the last name now.
Okay.
I wanted to say, but then I was like, don't say it. I was like, don't say it. I wanted to say like, what? I was like, well, no, I'm not gonna say it. But what I wanted to say was, I feel like people are still gonna want to see me. But that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, sure. You can go.
They'll get over it.
I already warned Mitchell. I'm like, you're going to go into some booths, and Coop said it to him too, because, we're splitting up this year, so we're not all going to be together. So, I'm going to so many places, and Mitchell and Kevin are going to so many places, and I'm like, you're going to go to some booths, and they're going to be looking for me, and they're going to be like, who are you? And I'm like, hey, man, you just got to lean into it, man. You got to let your voice be heard. I can't be everywhere at once. It's, that's what you're for here, So, yeah, it's definitely.
I know the feeling, man. I know the feeling.
There's definitely been some growing pains and transitions here at the Smokin Tabacco team, but I think we're going to be okay. So, which I'm excited for. Dean, first of all, I just want to say once again, thank you for being with us tonight. I know you're a busy guy. Appreciate you being here, talking to us about everything that you guys are doing now, what you've done, and a little bit about what you're doing, down the road. Excited to see you guys at PCA. I know that I don't think we've caught up at the trade show before, which is unfortunate, but our first year was our first year. Last year, we went into it with some experience and a plan. Unfortunately, Nicole got sick, and we weren't able to cover as many booths as we wanted to. And somehow I missed you. You go to TPE, right?
Yeah, we've been at TPE the last 2 years. Yeah.
And I feel like somehow I've missed you
It's
at
been
TPE.
good.
So this year for sure, I mean, we're going to be at the booth. So we'll be covering the Epic Cigar booth. this year, bringing you guys kind of the vibe of that booth and kind of everything that's going on, and a first-hand look at the Bronx Tale Cigars. But before we wrap up the show, Dean, I wanted to just say anything that you want to mention, anything you want to talk about, anything you feel that we may have left out. The floor is yours for whatever it is you want to promote, and also where people can find you if they want to learn more about your brand.
Sure, and thanks both of you, Mitchell, Matthew, both for having me on tonight. It's great. It's been great. We can't do enough of these types of podcast, social media engagements, because it's just valuable, because your reach is far beyond ours in so many different ways. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me, because I know there's a long list of people you need to get on, and the timing's been great. So thank you for that. So for Epic Cigars, you can find us at epiccigars.com, on Instagram, Epic Cigars, on Twitter, Epic Cigars, LinkedIn, under my name, Dean Parsons. What other accounts do we have? Twitter, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Epic Cigars as well. Any retailers looking for us, just go right to epiccigars.com. You can put our information in there. I just relocated to Texas from Florida about 6 weeks ago, and we're building out our sales team here. And so for our Texas retailers, anybody that's listening, feel free to reach out. A lot of them, our close retailers, know that I'm here, and we're going to be slowly working my way around Texas with some of our brokers and sales teams that we're developing. So excited to be here, and excited to see everybody in Vegas at the PCA. If you're coming the first 2 days, email, book an appointment, dean@epiccigars.com, because we're going to be we're filling up quick with obviously with Chazz being there from a media standpoint, and from getting our retailers in that want to order the new Bronx Tale. So thanks for everything you guys both do for the industry. Look forward to seeing you there, and if we get time, having a cocktail together.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's half the fun of going to the trade show. I mean, when the show's over, you get to go have drinks together and hang out, be a little bit more casual. I look forward to that. I look forward to that more so than the show. I mean, the show it's great, but it's more work. Having cocktails at the bar, that's fun.
I've had shows where I've done more business at night than on the trade show floor. That's turned into lifelong clients, customers, and relationships. So there's no, it's full gas when you get to Vegas, and there's no stop until you leave. Fortunately or unfortunately, you just gotta muscle through it. And
you get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night.
Maybe.
Maybe. On a good night. Maybe the first night.
Exactly. Usually the first night. Yeah.
The first night, it's not a lot of sleep, but it's more than the rest of the nights.
Yeah.
The trade show's just prepping you for fatherhood, Matt.
Yeah. That's what they tell me. I mean, we've talked.
The rumors are true.
We've talked about Dean. You know William Cooper from Cigar Coop, right?
Of course, yeah. I've been on Coop, and we're getting ready for another show soon. So yeah.
And it's funny because we've made the joke before. I don't think Coop, and Barrett Duplessis was watching at one point. I don't know if he's still here, but we've made the joke during the trade show. I don't even think Coop sleeps at all. It's I don't know if he's on something that just keeps him awake for 4.5, 5 days straight. I mean, because he's up early. I know, because he gets up early, does his thing. He's at the show all day. They go out to eat. They go back to the media compound, and they do their thing. And while all the guys are hanging out, he's got his laptop out. He's smoking stuff. Yeah, and Coop's here, and Coop's watching, so he can see. And it's funny. I remember, one year I went to the media compound. And I remember Bear being like, yeah, dude, I got up late last night, 2 a.m. and fucking Coop was out here on his laptop, cranking it out. And I'm like, dude, when does he sleep? How does he get rest? It's amazing. I gotta give him props, because man, that's dedication, and it's not easy. It's not. So
and I can go on no sleep, but the challenge is too, you get out and you get people buying cocktails and rounds, and that's when you really get beat up. If you can avoid I can go on no sleep, no problem, but if the cocktails are flowing all night, it's a little harder keep it together and get moving. And we're there to do business, so it's always a challenge.
I will
Gotta
say,
find that balance.
I think that might be a big key, because I know Coop doesn't drink a lot, so that's definitely, he has that advantage.
He's got his Diet Cokes and
He's got Diet Coke. That's right. He's like Jay Davis. He's got Diet Coke.
Fuels him for the trade show. Sponsored by Diet Coke.
Coop, that's true. Coke should be sponsoring you guys for the power that the Diet Coke. That's what gets him to the show. Diet Coke.
Rocking it 4 or 5 flats. Just.
Well, it was like at the Circle Bar. Dean, you've been to the Circle Bar at the Plaza during the trade
God.
show. And
Every
last year, I remember we were walking down there, and I ran into Jay Davis, and he's like, "You going to the Circle Bar?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, if you want a table, then I would turn around." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Well, they got a minimum now. I think it was like $250 you had to spend just to get one of the little tables."
Mm-hmm.
And Jay doesn't drink either. And I remember him saying, like, "Yeah, I'm not going to spend $200 on Diet Coke just so I can sit down." So I'm like, that's a good point.
Yep.
Oh, man. Anyway, this has been a great time, Dean. I appreciate you coming on the show. This has been fantastic. Don't forget to visit smokintabacco.com for more news, reviews, and other updates, including our 2023 PCA Trade Show coverage brought to you by Drew Estate. That's at smokintabacco.com. And also find us everywhere on social media. And don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and everywhere podcasts can be found. If you're looking for, I actually just noticed this a little while ago. If you're looking for last week's episode on the downloads, there was an issue, and I wasn't fully aware of this because it was uploaded and edited and all that. But for some reason there was an issue and it didn't go out, and I didn't realize it until a little while ago, and so that's in the process of being fixed. I'm not sure what happened, so I do apologize about that. But last week's episode will go up right away and be re-uploaded, I should say, and be fixed because I don't know what happened there. Something
Was that on Podbean?
Yeah, I think it was a Podbean issue. I don't know what happened, but I didn't realize. I was like, "Where's last week's episode?" And I went to my backside and I saw it in there as like unpublished. And I don't even know how that would happen because I never save them as drafts. I usually, like, when I upload them, they're ready to go, and then they go right out. So I don't know what happened, but that's going to have to get, like, deleted and re-uploaded. I don't know. So I just wanted to say I apologize about that. I will get that fixed right away. But other than that, it's been a great show. Don't forget to check out Epic Cigars. They're doing some fantastic stuff. And we'll see you on Saturday night for Spare Notes. All right, guys. Take care.